Okay. Maybe, I mean, we had 7 before, so let's see.
Yeah.
How many we have this time. So how's everybody doing tonight? If you're out there and you're watching, go ahead and say hey. I remember last time we had Angie. We had a couple Angies. Random Facebook user. We had Judy. So we are going to talk about shielding tonight. So, and why it is a game changer. Can you leave a comment? So when we get the comments, we can go ahead and start. I am talking today with Sabrina Ganymede. She is one of my spiritual advisors. I'm going to call it your spiritual advisors. So we work together quite a lot. I love her. I've been working with spiritual advisors for 4 years. And you guys have to believe me, I go at a very, very fast pace. And this is the first time I'm like, oh, okay. There are levels to this. And I'm like quantum leaping right now. But it's just so nice because, this is sort of the route that I've taken. Trying to see how powerful I can be. And then teach everything I know to you guys, because that's just how it's going to be in this world. Because I need as many warriors as possible with me. It can't just be Lisa. You need a whole army. That's what I feel like I'm building. So can you guys say hey if you're out there? When I start seeing comments, I can go ahead and start. Anybody? Oh, they're going to be quiet today.
Have you had raw milk, Lisa?
No, I have not.
I just got some today.
Are you okay? Because I heard some people can have a bit of a reaction.
No, it's the opposite, actually. I feel like really great. People who are lactose intolerant actually digest it really well because it has so many living enzymes in it.
Right. Oh, good. So I heard with lactose, they add lactose in our milk. Like they add it. And even knowing it's horrible for like 50% of the people. It's just so horrible what they do to us, right? And then they sell it and everybody accepts it, but this isn't. And so hi, Angela. Thank you for responding. So we'll go ahead and start. So today I'm going to talk about shielding because it's been so lovely. And I want to tell you my experiences and get some of Sabrina's experiences so you can see how we're both using it and how it really is, honestly, out of all, I've been doing this for 4 years, out of all the, I like to manifest, I like to do all the things I like to do. I have to tell you the thing that has really big results with people has been shielding. So if you're an empath, like, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this every day? Like, why aren't you shielding? Why are you sitting here being bombarded with all this energy and taking it on? If you are a light worker, Sabrina's going to talk about why she shields, which is a little bit of what I do, but why she had to do it. And even for my daughter who had some, I'm raising my daughter to be spiritually open, right? So all kids can see. All kids have imaginary friends. And then as they get older, it sort of starts to shut down, right? I am doing the work so she stays open, but in doing that, I have to make sure she protects herself. So there are some times where there are beings who are like, this little girl can see me. And I'm just like, who and what is she doing? And so I have to do it for her because in her childlike state, everyone is a friend. But we're going to talk about, she had a brother and a sister, and the brother was okay. All right. He was just like a new spirit. But the sister, she has been away from the love of God for a long time. So she was sort of a little more on the negative end, and she looked it and felt it. And, as she presented to my daughter, she's like, oh, I'm your sister. But, so because like I said, if you're going to stay open, because some people are closed to opening the third eye. Like there are people right now watching me. You have the ability to see, but you also might be very scared because you feel all these things. You know something's there, and you told yourself you don't want to see it. I've said that before. I know you have. We've all said that, because there's one thing growing up in a community and everyone around you has psychic gifts and ability, and they can teach you shielding, and this is how to communicate, and this is how to focus, this is how to remove entities, right? That is what I can now teach my daughter, and what I am teaching her. But when you grow up alone and you're the only one who can feel these things, you're like, I'm scared, I don't know what to do, like, I'm done, I don't want any of these things anymore, right? So I understand you guys who say, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see it, because I've said that, because it's scary when you're on your own and you don't know what to do. Well, the awesome part is, and you're welcome, Paradigm, like the awesome part is not just from me, but through so many people, so much ancient and sacred spiritual knowledge on how to handle this is coming up. So you can be open to this, right? So I'm going to talk about shielding and, why I did it. If you've been paying attention to my videos, I talk about, listen, spirit's trying to talk to me and attach to me, and I'm just not with it. Like, listen, lady, like, I know you're happy I can see you, and I was just getting too many. Some were evil and some weren't evil. Not at all. They were just happy someone can see. But then they were very particular. Like, in order to kick them out, if they would find loopholes, and we're going to talk about that. Because they, if they're not evil, for the most part, they'll listen to what you have to say and leave. But they do have a vested interest. When they finally find that one soul on the planet that could see them, they sort of want to give that up. They don't want to give up that opportunity to speak and be heard. They don't. So then they find loopholes. So you got to be really firm and really exact about things. But I did it because of that. So that's what it started out, but it actually has other benefits, and we'll go a little bit into that. All right. So Sabrina, I'll just so overview with me. Tell me why you shield it, and I'll tell you why I took this on, and how it actually has benefits outside the spiritual world, which is amazing. Because I talk trash on Facebook, but now they're responding to me quite differently, and I was like, oh my God, this works on humans. Okay, let me keep shielding. So Sabrina, tell me about why you started shielding and where it came from. And you would go off screen for a second. Turn on the fan. Oops.
I learned shielding about 15 years ago because I was noticing that I was getting too affected by other people's energy, especially like in public places like the mall. I would go to the mall and sometimes I would get a panic attack because I could feel all these people around me, and it was like I had left my body and I was just inhabiting all these other energies, and it didn't feel good. So I learned different techniques, and I noticed when I didn't do them, it would affect me. So I walked down the street and I could feel somebody coming. I could feel their energy, and I could sense if it wasn't good, I would get freeze up and get. And so that's not a way to walk through the world, right? Reacting. We don't want to be reactive. So over the years, I've learned what works for me, and where I'm at now is I've sort of programmed this into my field, so I can check on it. I don't have to do a daily practice much anymore. I can feel when it's weak, and it does get weak because we're constantly being bombarded with things that want us to be weak, right?
Yeah. And we're going to get into that, like things that want us to be weak. Because sometimes it's just the person, they're just being themselves, unaware of how their energy is being projected, how their negativity is maybe being felt by an empath, right? You know what I mean? Or a light worker. And so sometimes it's not malicious, but then other times it is.
Yeah.
I
love what you were talking about. Because it reminded me of something that's very helpful for me. I think as a society, we've been programmed to be afraid of spirits. All these ghost stories, and even from a young, Scooby-Doo, there's always just spirits are scary, be afraid, run away, scream, right? That's an automatic reaction now. But what really helped me get over that is realizing we were spirits before we came into the womb. And we're just spirits now in temporary meat suits that deteriorate, and then we die, and then we become spirits again. So if you think of us I'm a spirit just with a human meat suit, and you're a spirit with a human meat suit. So all these spirits that are around, we're just people like us, just normal Joe Blow neighbor, right? But
that's the majority. That's 95% of them.
And the story you were mentioning about that little girl, how she looked really raggedy. So we remote view in our sessions, and we remote viewed her home, and we saw this little girl, and she looked really like gray and not good. But that wasn't her original form. The longer she was away from spirit, the more she forgot the light, and that's how some negative entities can manifest. There's a lot of different kinds, obviously, but that's just one of them.
Right. So that is why I actually shield my daughter, because as I mentioned before, I'm raising her to keep her psychic abilities open, which might sound scary to all of you guys. But the thing is, I'm just going to tell you from my story, I am open to the spiritual gifts, and being open to all these things mean that you see the good and the bad, right? Now, that can be scary for a lot of you guys, and I understand. The way I combat that is as I open myself up, my spirit and higher self is very good at it doesn't always come from like an advisor. Sometimes I read the right YouTube video, or I'm reading the right book, and I find the right practice or protection that I need at that time. So I'm always like, so as I open, she's good and she knows like I need to know how to protect myself. So now I talk very openly about spirits and spirit guides, but I know how to clean them away. I know how to remove them. I know how to remove them myself. I know how to remove them with other spiritual beings and like archangels. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say like, my own journey, like when it's okay to be open, it's okay to be open if you know that you're going to be learning how to shield and protect yourself. So I'm teaching my daughter how to be open, or I'm just telling her like, yeah, that's what you're saying. But we need to make sure it's a good spirit, not a bad spirit. Okay. You know, because they're not all good. It's really hard for her to understand that though. So I just have to check on anyone she's telling me about, like, because she thinks everyone's good because she's, 4. So there are no bad spirits. If a spirit says that they're her sister, they're her sister. I'm like, baby girl, no. So, but I'm teaching her how to protect herself. So even she shields. I don't know how aware she is of what she's really doing, but I do know she's pretty consistent. So I can go, have you shielded today? And she's like, yes. Because I have to shield her, and I have my own shield around her to make sure negative entities that aren't of the highest good, aren't of the highest, integrity, are impacting her. But so let's start with yes. Let's go into some of the fun stories. So not fun, but like I'm a bit of a warrior, so I like the fighting stories. So I want to explain. So one of the reasons I shield is not only because of the spiritual beings, but I have learned every time I leave the house as a light worker, they are watching us, people who are going into their power and who are trying to empower others and share that knowledge, doing that work and then putting it out. That doesn't work with Satan's plan. Me helping you to be powerful and knowing your spirit and teaching you how to do it, that doesn't align with keeping you in a low vibrational state, right? That doesn't align with someone else having power over you. So you guys have heard my stories. I talk about this. So every time I leave the house, I have to shield for protection. But Sabrina, you started doing it not only because of the people around you, but did you do it because of spiritual warfare or negative beings and entities as well? Not just the casual ones who are like, oh, you can see me. I'm happy to talk to you. And I'm going to bug you until you talk to me. Not those spirits. And FYI, that is 95% of the spirits. They just want to be seen, right? But tell me about the ones that aren't like that. And I wouldn't say now that 95% is like what I allow in my home. I protect my home every day. So the negative beings aren't going to get in. If I did not do that, I would see more, right? So I usually see those few if I leave the house and I don't protect. So now it's just take the minute, do the shielding, and keep going. And then we'll talk about how people react too, because I want to get your input, Sabrina, not just on the spiritual side, but how people energetically respond to your shield. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so about the light workers,
Yeah. So yes, for people for sure I've shielded, but later on in my journey, I had to shield for other things. And what I've come to learn is that these entities they have technology that they can see into the future, right? and they can see, oh, Lisa is going to be somebody who knows how to destroy me. So we got to take care of Lisa, make sure she doesn't get too big, right? And that's what the attacks are a lot of the time. So my experience of that is when I go to bed, sometimes I would have like really bad nightmares, and I'd wake up with like deep scratches that I didn't do. And then I was like, okay, I really need to step it up. And then I started doing the nightly protections. And now, as I said, I programmed it, so I don't need to do it that much anymore. And that's what I encourage people to learn techniques and really strengthen, because once you're strong, right? But in terms of other ways I've found out that I've been attacked is through negative thoughts. So I'm not a negative thought person.
Me
so
neither.
If I suddenly have repetitive negative thoughts about somebody or about a situation, or my mood is just negative and I can't relate it to anything, I'll know that there's an outside influence, and then I will do procedures to remove it, and then I will no longer have a negative thought about somebody. But these entities will start to influence you in that way. They'll attach to you and go like, I think your neighbor is saying this about you. I think your neighbor, right? And then you'll react to your neighbor and you'll be horrible to them, and then it'll be a big loosh source. Like that's what they want. So you always want to realize, like, who am I? And am I the kind of person who would actually say this or think this? No. Okay, so it's somebody else. Let me deal with that, and it goes away.
So what is your experience on people who are not aware? Oh, sorry. We're a little connection was a little weak. We're good. I'm good. 1 second for Sabrina to come back.
I'm back.
Are you there, Sabrina?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So Lisa, maybe we can 30 seconds and just shield our electronics, because we're talking about stuff that's a bit intense, and maybe that will help us with the lag. Okay.
Well, just give it a second for it to come back, Sabrina. It'll come back. Just give it 1 second.
I will do it on my
technical difficulty, guys. The Wi-Fi. I had to put it on a landline because my Wi-Fi signal was getting low, and then that sort of tripped something up. Let me see if I remove you, if I can add you back in. Perfect. Yay. It's the same stream, so we don't have to do a part 2.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. So I think you heard where we're from. So what I want to talk to you now. So for people who aren't aware, like, we're aware of spirits and energies because that's where we're taking our spiritual practice, like to be able to be open to those things. So we're aware of those things, right? What would you say to those who are not aware of all the entities and influences? Like, how bad have you seen it? Because you do work with a lot of clients. So, like, what are some of your experiences of people who aren't aware?
Mm-hmm. People who aren't aware don't realize that their behaviors aren't actually them, and then they beat themselves up for, one example is having suicidal thoughts. If it's suddenly having suicidal thoughts and you're really depressed and there hasn't been something that might have triggered it, really question, like, are these my thoughts? I have had suicidal thoughts since I was 17 several times, and I realized that they were always when I was vulnerable in a way, like something made me weak, and then it allowed things into my field, and they were like, what's the point of living? And I'm like, no, that's not. Luckily, I didn't act on it, and luckily I came out of it, and now I realize, like, sometimes I will get a little thought, and I'll just be like doing dishes, and I'll be like, some harmful thought, I'm like, okay, that's definitely not me. I need to strengthen up. I need to remove that. And I never have the thought again. And that's how you know it's not you. If you have strange behaviors and strange thoughts, this happens to everybody. And just realize, like, what is mine, what is not mine, right? And you can just kind of, like, if you need to, you can just, like, check in with yourself, like, focus on your heart. Like, is this me? You know, you as God, would you say this about yourself? You know, would you say this about your best friend who should be you? No, right?
Yeah. So, so it's like amazing when you think about everyone's just going through their life and it's just like literally a devil on their shoulder. And, and like spiritual warfare is literally keeping you in a low vibrational state. That's it. Like I said, I thought it was all swords and stuff, which can happen. Yeah. But literally it's, can this human stay in a high vibrational state or can we get them to a low vibrational state? Because they feed off the low vibrational state that people stay in, right? And the chaos. And so that's more of the like warrior or like I'm working, I'm a light, let me stay protected. Mm-hmm. But I like what I found because I've done more layered and complex shielding. And I'm finding that people respond to it. Like, y'all know social media can be like really crazy, right? You can say one thing and people react out their mouths at least 2 or 3 times a day. I'll say something. I'm not wrong, but I can get under people's skin, especially when it comes to the Black community, because I'm really not programmed. So I'm just like, well, like I just be going in and I don't hold back. So, quite a few times I'm like, ooh, I made some people mad and they're tagging me and responding. But if you do the right type of shielding, even on social media, that same shielding you did for as above is definitely below. And now, I don't know, I even feel more powerful than I've ever had before. I love manifesting, I living this, but I didn't realize that shielding actually has people, human people, they respond the same way on the spiritual entities that you're trying to keep away. So I'll say one of the things. So I'm doing a shielding workshop tomorrow at 7:00. Hope you all join. Sabrina, you're more than happy to join if you'd like. So I did this one part of the shielding where any of your negative intentions towards me, and this was made for a spiritual entity. I'll talk about it in the class, but like some alien saw me, because we be astral projecting. Sometimes they follow you back, right? And so I did this one shielding layer. And so not just the white light of protection, which is, I think, is very basic, and I do want to teach that, but the layers you add to it. And one of the things I did was like, making it reflective. So any of the truth will be seen. So any negative intention or energy they shoot towards me will be reflected back and they'll see their truth, right? And it's so interesting because that's when working on people, and I'm like, why are they treating me so much more respectfully? Usually they be going ham and going at it, but people are really checking their words when they respond to me. And I've never had responses this respectable. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? The same thing I did because this alien was up there trying to, and I was like, yo, blah, 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 blah. I know this sounds crazy for y'all, but yes, aliens, spiritual beings, all that exists. Stay closed if you want. I'm open and I protect myself. I did it for them, but then people are responding to me this way. And I was like, this is so powerful. Oh my God. You literally can have the same intentions you put on the spiritual realm. People will respond to that. And so I'm not making any negative karma. So whatever I teach is going to be very karma neutral. So reflecting back is not bad. That's just reflecting back so someone can see it. But like, I don't know. I would do it alone just for the social media and having no one coming at you crazy on social media. Honestly, just for that alone. Forget the spiritual stuff. You mean I could be on here and everyone responds with couth and class, So have you seen that too? Like whatever you did for the spiritual, like plays out in the real.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's a game changer.
And the part that's the game changer is that you do it right. So it's not just putting a bubble up, because if you don't do it correctly, you can block everything, even the good things, right?
Yep. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow because I was blocking some abundance.
Yeah. So you program
Yes, that's exactly what it looked like. It was a little green alien. No, I'm not joking. If you, hey, listen, you be on these astral streets, okay? Right, Sabrina?
Yes.
All sort of astral things, okay? He was curious. I shot him with the bow and arrow. That's another thing, okay? I made him get out of there. But yeah, who were saying, yeah, like the people and how they're reacting. So what have you seen?
Mm-hmm. I just want to say one last thing about that cool story you said that I really loved, is the correct programming of it is all loopholes, right? So we first did it and there was a loophole that because we test, there was a loophole. And so the alien that she mentioned turned its back and was waiting for a weakness again.
So I'll tell you, we did many layers, but I'll tell you, it's sort of like, I did a mushroom trip. And so afterwards I was like sort of talking to my higher self about what it was. And one of the things I encountered, which was really, I'm just going to tell you guys, because I just think it's so crazy. I encountered like a horny toad. And so one of the images I saw during my mushroom trip, like astral travel in the galactic field, was like, I was like, what is this? Like, it was sort of like a galactic center with all these things in the middle of space, and it was all these buildings. And my higher self was like, this is where that horny toad was from. It's a place where they sort of just make negative beings. And it was the little green alien. And so I was like, okay, well, let me astral project. And I astral projected, and I was like, okay, let me look inside one of these little carts, right? These little like rectangular. And I looked inside, and it was like this alien, and it was a green alien. And I was like, okay, I want to leave now. So I astral traveled back, and he showed up, and I was like, hey. And then my higher self was like, it's time to shield. And so we put the shield, and we did the reflection, like whatever your truth and the negative intention towards me gets reflected back. And guess what he did? So I'm like, this is all my third eye. So what he did, he turned around. I was like, okay. So I'm like, that mother, and I know that they look for loopholes, but it was like, I immediately got the information that, it comes to me energetically. Oh, well, it just said reflected back. So he turned around. He didn't leave though, right? So then we did more complex layers. And finally, like, I see him like cuffing it out of here because he's like, he doesn't want any of that smoke, right? But like, we had to go deeper into the layers. So that was the whole story. But it was very interesting seeing like a cognizant dimensional being heard it or responded, and it was like, well, I could just turn around. So you have to go, depending on who you are and how protected you want to be, you have to go further. But what I do love and appreciate, that I did take it to like 3 different levels of protection that were all different, some defensive, some offensive, and some reflective, and then some filtering. So there's different ways that you can layer your shielding, but it really works with people. And this is what, Sabrina, I wish I would have known this when I was working with people and I didn't like my coworkers, because I would have been reflecting all of it back on them. They all would have been so nice to me or modulated their tone. Can you imagine the power if I knew then what I knew now, that not only does it work on as above, but so below? I'm going to keep saying that because this is like the first time I was like, dang, for real, as above, so below. And getting that constant feedback. Can you imagine if everyone knew this? And when they went to their mom's house or they went to their sister's, they literally had an energetic shield. Because don't think your mental isn't powerful. You are mental. I don't like using the word, this is an illusion. I know people do, but I don't like that because we are 3D, we are dense. But what you do in your mental space is powerful, and is enough to completely change how people view, see, and interact with you. And if I would have known this before, I would have had a completely different experience in my entire life, because everyone would have sort of checked themselves because they didn't know it. But energetically, they were like, I'm not going to throw that at her because for some reason, I just feel like I don't want to throw that negativity at her. So I'm going to respond this way. Can you imagine like how you could have breezed through life if we knew this?
That's how I feel now. I'm really surprised. Like every day when I go to the grocery store, I have the nicest checkout people. Like I don't experience negative, rude people anymore. And that's because I program it in. I say, like, I only want to have positive experiences, positive interactions, things that are for my highest, best, and highest good. And it always happens. Like, in my past, I would be the opposite. You're right. I had a client.
Hit or miss, right? Because your energy probably attracted very decent people in things, but then, you didn't shield it. So, whack job with the attitude problem, they're there too. Or coworker with like an ego problem who thinks you're all that, because I got that a lot. She thinks she all that because I'm confident, right? It would have blasted all of that away. And it's just like, this is the kind of information they don't want to get out. So when I say the shielding workshop that I'm doing tomorrow is super important, look, you don't have to do it, but I'm looking at people like, oh my God, I could have been a beast, right? And so it's very interesting. Like I'm hearing about these assassinations by all these like presidents and African leaders, and the Haitian president was assassinated. And my first thought was like, interesting. Was it his time to go? Because because I was just like, because sometimes it's just your time to go. That's how, Ezek Sage left, how it was planned. But I was like, dude, I don't even walk out my house without protection. I don't even walk anywhere without making sure that certain and only energies can be in my field. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all these leaders out here, like, do they have spiritual protections? Like how'd this happen? Right? Like, how did it happen? Because I was like, it ain't happening over here, because I am mindful about, and for me, it really started with, like I said, if I do not put this shield up, a spiritual being is going to want to attach to me. And because I feel energy, it is very invasive for me when I'm feeling energy. So even though it might not be a harmful being, me feeling the energy is sort of like you touching a private part. Like it's very invasive on a spiritual level for me. And so that's why I did it. But I'm just thinking, like, what are all these people walking outside without protection if you're like the president? Because like if I was Beyonce, or if I was famous, if I was Oprah, literally, not only would I have a shield, I'd be cleansing and removing all that energy every single day. And like, think of all the pop stars and celebrities who don't do that. And like, they have all these problems. And I was like, we have millions of people's different energies on you that you may or may not be cleaning, right? You're going crazy, but it might not have been you. You just don't, we haven't been taught to be aware of how people's energy sticks to us and how it can affect us, right?
You're right. Mm-hmm.
So we are going to bring this to an end. Do you guys have any questions? And I'd love to see you guys at the shielding workshop. I'll put a link below. I'll put the link in here, but it's going to be tomorrow evening.
What time is it at, Lisa?
7 p.m. Thank you. And just a live workshop. And then if you ever want to get in touch with Sabrina, I'm going to put her email address into her website. I 10 recommend Sabrina.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Any questions out there? Any thoughts or comments or like things that you do for shielding and protection? And while we're waiting for comments, how important I think right now, from what I'm seeing with all the spiritual warfare, if you do not protect yourself, there is going to be a negative being attaching to you. That is how I feel about it. Not necessarily so much children, although it could happen. But like if you're like an adult and you're not doing it, like it's going to happen because they're trying to hop on anyone they can right now, because that's where we're at. But that's how I feel. That's just intuition. I didn't ask. I'm just like, anyone they can, doesn't matter. And it looks really bad. They're trying to bring them down as low as they can and get them involved in as much messiness as they can to make sure they bring that person at a lower vibrational state. But Sabrina, how entrenched do you think it is?
Yeah, I think most people have entities actually.
Yeah.
And that's a natural state, unfortunately. And there's protections you can do for yourself to not interact with them. One thing I say is that I do not consent to interact with anybody's entities. I want to only interact with their pure soul. And I find my interactions are much better because their entities aren't influencing them and like putting little thoughts in their mind, right? Oh, I think Sabrina thinks this about me. That doesn't happen to me anymore, right?
And that's a good one, because every time you talk to people, you learn one more layer. Like I just learned that, shielding around your business. Okay. So that's why like, it's so cool that the Lightwork community is talking about it. You can do that. You can shield your business. Or like Sabrina says, if I deal with a person, I'm only dealing with the pure soul, not any entities that are attached to them. Like I didn't even think about that. But that's one more layer. If you feel like it, you can add to it. Now, I heard that. I'm not going to add it because my shields, the way that I set them up, the layers, and it's defensive, offensive, da 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 da. I just get the best person anyway because they just don't want the smoke. That's gonna go back. That's gonna get returned to sender, right? So at this moment, I don't feel like that, but there might be a point in which I do want to add that because the shields I have in place, they found loopholes around, right? And so it's just this constant like elevation of your knowledge that's going to really protect you. It's all about knowledge. So Paradigm says, yes, I found if I slack on shielding myself, even previously attached beings latch on. I know, that is why I do it. And now I used to do it in the mornings and I would do it just in the evenings as called, but I do it morning and night now. Because I don't want to deal with an attached being. Even if, and like I said, I don't get negative beings because I'm so heavily protected and they know it. Like I think they come in and they're like ancestors, dragons, guardian angels, warrior, Lisa's higher self. They're like, they just do not want the smoke. They do not. Okay. But so I just get the normal ones, but regardless, like if you don't, it happens. And I don't like it. The ones I fought hard against even recently will and have come back if you don't do the shielding. Yes. So yes, I would love for you to come to the class too, because then you have to go from just protection. You can go for more offensive, not in a bad way. Like it's you can be defensive, but it's okay to put in, if this happens, there is a consequence. If you try to break my sovereignty, there is a consequence for that. You see? And so when you start adding on these different layers, right, all of a sudden it's quite different. Those entities would not want to come back because they're going to have to deal with, you know, what you put around you. So what's your guys' outside of Paradigm? Anyone else have any thoughts on shielding? Were you practicing it already? Is this something that you heard about? What I find though, pretty much, if you've been in the spiritual practice, you do it anyways, just because the more awakened and aware you became, the more things were bothering you. And you just learned if you don't do it, you're just going to have to deal with stuff you don't want to deal with. So it's better just not to let it attach. That's what I would say.
And I love your approach, Lisa, because a lot of people shield out of fear. They're like, oh, I don't want anything to come near me. But you're standing from the empowered place, right? Where you're like, these are my boundaries. If you cross them, you know, you'll have to deal with the higher issue, higher power. Consequences. Yeah, it's strength. It's not fear, right?
I'm not like Howard. No, you don't want to mess with it, right? And like I said, I try to be karma neutral, so I'm not putting anything negative, right? It's just it's what you're giving me. You're gonna see back, and I program that into it, and so all of a sudden you just get the best parts of people. And that's a good place to be because they're not consciously aware, but I am consciously seeing their reactions being so much more positive. And, you know, just because, you know, I got the reflection. No, the workshop will be on Zoom. It'll be on Zoom. Did you get the link, Paradigm, that I just put in? I wonder, what's your real name? Or you want me to just call you Paradigm?
Yeah. How much is the workshop, Lisa?
$25. Yeah.
That's very affordable.
Extremely affordable. Yeah, no, it's just if they want to learn or not. To me, it's one of those things that I'm just so excited at the changes it's made in my life. And I wish I would have known it sooner. So of course I'm going to share like with anyone who wants to learn. And I just hope so many people do it, because you're walking through life and you're getting bombarded with all this crap, and you literally, from your family, from your friends, from strangers, from anybody, you can stop all of it. And I'm like, oh, I just wish I would have known. Just call me Paradigm. No problem. All right, we're going to end with that. So no questions about shielding or your own practices. So we will let that go. I hope to see you guys all tomorrow night at the workshop. So thank you guys so much for coming along with our little journey. Anything you want to add, Sabrina?
No, if there's any more questions, just bring them to Lisa at the workshop. Yeah, it'll be good.
Oh, a super glow about it. We have a super glow about us. Okay, I'll take that. We're happy people. We are. You know, I'm not gonna lie. The more I learn, the more I learn how to spiritually empower myself and how I see that I can control not only myself and my path, but I control how people talk to me and I can keep it all for the positive and good, I mean, the more confident and like the word is going to be empowered I am. So yeah, there is a glow because I'm learning that I don't care if I'm in a crowd full of people and they're angry. You're not touching me. I don't care if you're a cop and you're racist. You're not doing anything. I'm going to get the best part of you. I don't care if you're like about to rob, I'm just on a train, you're about to rob me. You ain't coming over here. And you're not even going to know why. You're just going to know you really don't want to bring that negative energy towards me because it doesn't feel good, right? You don't mind the positive. And so every time I learn one of these spiritual gifts, there is a glow because I'm like, I've been doing this wrong. Like I could have been floating. So yes, there's definitely right now this sense of empowerment. It's just being a powerful person, being able to step up anywhere and really you can't control people because they have free will, but you definitely can make sure that their intentions towards you are the purest. Otherwise, they will have to get whatever they have coming towards you reflected back. Right. And there's just a lot of power. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I like power. I like money. I like power. And so spiritual power for me tends to be one of the things that really makes much of a difference with like my interpersonal reactions. And that's just a wonderful thing. Only getting the best parts of people. Any last words, Sabrina?
No, I think this was really fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. It'll be good.
It was, yes. All right, bye guys. Love you. Take care.